Well, in the last video I did say that we would be moving on to showing the external fascias, the guttering and the external PVC work, but I haven't quite finished that, and so I've changed my mind. I'm gonna throw some footage up now showing how I got on internally. So I've moved the camera inside for you, and hopefully this will give you a good idea to show you how we're complementing the outside. First of all, I started off with the foil taping. Now, you saw us doing this on the outside. It's exactly the same thing. It's creating a continuous vapor barrier. So anywhere where there's a join on these insulation PIR insulation boards, they're 130 millimeters, a recap. Anywhere they meet a rafter, I have already sealed each one of these boards. We laid them in on a bed of silicone, and they were pushed down onto that. Because I had extra tubes of silicone, I also then, once they were set down, I then ran a continuous bead on the inside perimeter as well. So in theory you've got two layers of silicone, as well as if there were any bigger holes we used a bit of expanding foam. And now I'm going over every corner with the foil tape as well. You can see there I'm just silicone between the box beam, the ring beam and the UPVC frames, although I'd already sealed all of this externally, and each one of these layers was bed onto a bead of silicone. I decided to seal in between. And this is just jumping forward. You can see now I've covered the box beam with a piece of, I think that was 125mm flat fascia board, or they don't call it fascia board, capping board or whatever they call it, just to tidy that up. And then I'm starting on with the cladding here. What I have jumped over, as you can see, the white PVC block which I bonded on, so that's just glued onto the PIR there. And Leka provides that in with the system. I think it was 15mm square, something like that. So it's the same distance as the little lip on the bottom of the rafters, and that comes supplied in the kit. So it's not something I had to buy in addition. And although, to be honest, I think probably would have been fine at those 600 centres. I think better safe than sorry, so we're fixing at 300, or approximately 300, just over 300mm centres I think from memory. And I'm using different fixings as we go along here. I haven't got any close-ups of exactly how we're getting this on, but there's no exposed fixings at all. So the first course of this timber cladding sits directly, it rests on top of this UPVC, the 125mm UPVC board, because that is about 9 or 10mm deep, so that's a good ledge for the first board, the tongue of the first board to sit on. They're all tongue and grooved the whole way up, and I'm using cladding clips. I think they're made by Simpson Strong Tie. They're a bit tricky to get hold of. Not many places were stocking them, but I did manage to find B&Q about 10 miles away that did stock them, even though my local B&Q couldn't get them. The cladding clips come with nails, but the nails are useless for going into these GRP rafters, so we are using the cladding clips with the supplied nails to go into the PVC block, the 15mm blocks halfway between the rafters, and then in the rafters themselves, again I'm using a really short, like 10mm screw through the cladding clip into the rafter. Unfortunately, I did have to drill out the hole, because the hole on the cladding clip is tiny, just for a tiny little pin nail, not suitable for a larger screw. So After drilling those out and slowly working my way along, you can see it was very time consuming and sort of tedious, but we got there in the end. On the right hand edge, I'm using a 3mm like glazing packer, just as a spacer as every board gets up, to get the gap to the, oh, there you can see the spacer, get the gap to the frame perfect every time. And we'll come back and we'll probably run a bead of cork or sealant along that edge at some stage. On the left hand edge, those the left hand boards, there's approximately a 10mm expansion gap on the left hand side, which sits on top of this 45mm UPVC finishing trim, but also sits on top of the plaster. Previously this was wet plastered, and then the existing roof was sealed directly on top of that, so we've got the thickness of the plaster as well as an additional expansion gap. So why did I choose, or why did we go for this cladding? This is spruce cladding. It's 8mm thick. There were several reasons. We liked the look of it. We wanted to do something different. Everyone seemed to be putting up either the UPVC like soffit style board, which I think looked a bit terrible, or people were putting up plasterboard and downlighters, and you know, that's done to death. So we thought this was an opportunity to do something different. We liked that kind of natural warm feel of a light wood, like this nice natural spruce. To our surprise, it comes in considerably cheaper as well. It's about half the cost of the materials for plasterboard in the ceiling. And then if you were to pay a plasterer to come in and wet plaster the ceiling, then obviously you'd factor in a few £100 for that on top as well. So it's a considerable saving, but if I'd have taped and jointed it myself, then I'm sure the labour time could have probably been more than putting all the cladding up, and of course the material costs themselves were twice the price if we wanted to go down the wet plaster route. So we're happy with how it's turning up and turning out so far, and we'll be sure to come back and show you some more videos as I progress on to the other side. Got the tricky corner to deal with, but also show you what we're doing with the lighting, what solution we've come up for that. In the video you saw one of the old lights hanging around that I just put up as a temporary measure for now. So that's it for this video. I do promise that we will get to the outside UPVC work, the fascias, the guttering. That will be coming very soon.